I'm a 35-year-old guy and my wife, Anna, who is also 35, and I have been married for the past 5 years. Before that, we dated for 2 years, and everything was pretty normal between us. But about a year ago, my wife suddenly developed an expensive taste. To give you some background, I work as a sales manager, and my wife has a job in finance. Together, we earned enough to live a decent life, and we were pretty happy with our lifestyle. However, in the last year, my wife's preferences shifted from decent to extravagant. For instance, if she wanted a handbag, it had to be from a high-end and famous brand with a prominently displayed logo rather than a bag that offered good value for its price. I'm not a penny pincher, but $300 for a handbag? You can get a decent one for $100. My wife's change in behavior was influenced by one of her close friends who married a wealthy businessman. This friend kept flaunting her newfound luxurious possessions, and it seemed like my wife wanted to develop a similar taste. She started comparing everything to what her friend had: our house, car, and vacation destinations. I did try to talk to her about it, but she acted like a 5th grader who wants everything just like her rich friend. I thought it might be a passing phase and she'd eventually grow out of it, but maybe I was mistaken. In the last 5-6 months, I've noticed a significant upgrade in my wife's wardrobe. Before that, it was just a few clothes, bags, and perfume bottles, which made sense. It's easy to save up for a few expensive items. However, in the last 5-6 months, she completely revamped her wardrobe. Everything, from her clothing to her shoes, now bore the name of a famous brand. I got curious and asked if she had gotten a promotion, and she confirmed that she had. When I inquired about the raise, she shrugged it off, mentioning good incentives but no change in her base salary. I couldn't help but wonder if those incentives could cover all these expenses. I didn't dig deeper into it because she would make me feel guilty, suggesting that I couldn't provide a luxurious lifestyle for her, and yet questioning her choices when she was handling it on her own. She had pulled this move before, so I refrained from prying. I stayed curious throughout, but I kept my thoughts to myself. However, secrets have a way of coming to light. About a month ago, I was searching for some documents in my closet. Despite hours of searching, I couldn't locate them, so I started rummaging through my wife's section. Although I didn't find the document I was looking for, I stumbled upon my wife's bank statement. I just casually took a look at it. After her last promotion, which happened about a year ago, she informed me that her monthly salary, after taxes, was roughly $6,500. However, when I examined the bank statement, it painted a very different picture. There were several credits in her bank statement under her company's name each month, but none came close to even $6,000. They varied between $1,000 and $4,000, but none were whole numbers. I tallied them up for a month, hoping they'd add up to $6,000, but they didn't. I also considered whether she might be receiving weekly or bi-weekly payments, but the numbers still didn't match. The total amount credited in a month added up to around $10,000. My curiosity got the best of me, and I decided to investigate further by searching through her wardrobe. However, I didn't find anything else suspicious. She wasn't at home at the time, so I sat there staring at the bank statement. It suddenly struck me that the statement was from Bank X. I'm keeping the bank name confidential. While to the best of my knowledge, she had an account with Bank Y. A hunch told me that Bank X wasn't her salary account. That evening during dinner, I casually asked her, "Hey, did you switch your salary account from Bank Y to a different one?" She replied, "No." I followed up with, "Do you have an account with Bank X?" Her immediate reaction was noticeable. She turned pale and stammered, No, I don't have an account with Bank X. Why are you asking this?" I told her that X Bank had some great offers for their female customers on Women's Day. I kept looking at her, and she started feeling uneasy. I waited for her to say something, but she remained silent. She finished her dinner and went to bed. Part of me wanted to confront her right then, but I held back, giving her time to think. I waited for a week. At first, she seemed tense and alert for a couple of days, but as the week went on, she went back to her usual self, which frustrated me. It seemed like she was comfortable keeping me in the dark, whatever the reason. I couldn't hold back any longer, so I gave her the bank statement the following weekend and asked for an explanation. She panicked and asked how I found it. I told her the truth. She quickly changed the subject, blaming me for invading her privacy. I made it clear that I wouldn't be fooled by her mind games and pressed her for an explanation. She refused to answer, and we argued all day Saturday. It was almost evening when I threatened to expose the details to her company if she didn't explain the hidden bank account and mysterious credits. I took a shot in the dark, and it worked. She agreed to confess but made me promise not to involve her company. I agreed. She explained how she discovered a loophole in her company's financial process, allowing employees to embezzle funds if they were clever. At first, she hesitated to take advantage of it, but her desire for expensive things pushed her to do it. I was shocked. I never imagined my wife could be involved in fraud. I inquired how she managed to gather the courage to carry out such deceit. She explained that she had tested it once with a small amount, with a plan that if caught, she would resort to tears and claim it was just negligence. Typically, companies won't pursue fraud charges if the amount is small. They might simply terminate employment. So, she took the risk. As the amount grew into the thousands, she decided to be cautious and changed her bank account as a precaution. I couldn't quite grasp this revelation. I didn't raise my voice. I simply stared at her in astonishment. I'm not a saint, but something about this didn't sit right. Perhaps because she had kept me in the dark. In a way, she had deceived me too. I asked her why she had concealed all of this from me. She said she believed I wouldn't have approved. I didn't respond. I wasn't angry either. To be honest, I didn't know how to react at that moment. I advised her to put an end to this scheme and leave the company before she got caught and her career was tarnished. She nodded. We both felt uneasy for the next few days, but we didn't communicate with each other. About a week later, I inquired if she had thought about leaving the organization. She replied that she was established there and had no intention of departing. She was confident she wouldn't get caught. With a stern expression, I cautioned her against repeating the fraud. It's been 2 weeks since that incident, and I'm still feeling uneasy. I believe I could move past it if Anna quits her job at the company. It would give me assurance that she's no longer involved in this mess, but I can't understand why she's so insistent on staying there. Do you all think she might still be stealing money without my knowledge? Please offer some advice on a balanced way to deal with this situation. Update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the advice. After talking with some of you, I did think about sending that anonymous email, but I ended up not doing it. I didn't want to risk my marriage for this. I guess I chose my married life over my principles. Please don't be upset with me because, you know what? A lot has happened since then. If I'd sent those emails, I might never have discovered the darker side of the situation. Fast forward 2 months after our confrontation, and she's still working at the same company. However, I haven't noticed any new expensive items being added to her wardrobe. That gave me some relief, thinking she wasn't continuing that practice. But this whole incident has kept me unsettled. About a month ago, while mindlessly scrolling through social media, a thought crossed my mind. I started searching for her coworkers on social media. Since Anna and I were connected on my account, and her colleagues were connected on hers, it was easy for me to find them. After checking out some of her colleagues whom I had met at a few social gatherings, I came across her boss's profile. His profile picture, taken in a stunning beach villa, intrigued me, so I kept digging. As I went through his page, I saw him living a lavish lifestyle. His timeline was full of pictures of him partying at a fancy hotel lounge and vacationing in some of the country's most luxurious places. We all know you can't afford such a lifestyle on a monthly salary of around $7,000, especially with a kid. I scrolled further back and saw that his lifestyle had only upgraded about a year ago. Before that, his pictures were from more ordinary places. That seemed pretty suspicious. I didn't hesitate, and I directly asked my wife, "Did your boss also participate in the fraud?" She was caught off guard and responded with, yeah, sort of. I was taken aback. How could that be an answer? I asked her to clarify. She explained that her boss did find out about it but allowed her to siphon the money. I didn't believe her. I pointed out that based on what I saw on her boss's profile, his involvement in the fraud seemed clear because an average finance manager couldn't afford such a lifestyle. She brushed it off, claiming he came from a wealthy family. I gave her an ultimatum, telling her to cut the excuses since I had done my research. I informed her that I had gone through his entire profile, which showed that he had upgraded his lifestyle within a year. She tried to explain it away by suggesting he might have received some inheritance money. I couldn't tolerate her weak excuse. Anyone with common sense could see that she was making it up. I firmly asked her to tell the truth. The same cycle repeated. Hours of argument and her blaming me for investigating her colleagues. Finally, she admitted that her boss was also involved and they shared the money. I asked her why she hadn't revealed this during our initial confrontation. She said it was irrelevant. I felt like banging my head against a wall, or maybe even hers. I told her she needed to leave that company ASAP. I questioned her if there was anything else she was keeping from me, and she adamantly said no. But I wasn't convinced that this was the end of it. I had a strong feeling that there was more to uncover, and as you can probably guess, I started suspecting an affair. It's the most obvious thing in a situation like this, right? After a few restless hours, I couldn't take it anymore. I went straight to her and asked, "Are you having an affair with your boss?" She was caught off guard, and though she tried to say something, I cut her off with a determined look and said, "Don't even think about lying. I have all the evidence." I have no idea where I found the confidence to confront her like that. It wasn't an act. I was reacting on autopilot, going with my gut. She gave up and started crying. My heart sank as tears streamed down her cheeks. I urged her to spill every single detail. Eventually she did, and it shook me to my core. After her initial attempt at embezzling money, Anna thought she was clever and could continue the fraud without getting caught. Little did she know her manager had caught on to her scheme from the very beginning but chose not to confront her. In fact, he was the one who approved her audits, which ultimately enabled her to embezzle even more money. Once the amount involved grew significantly, her boss confronted her. He praised her cleverness in exploiting the loophole and admired her audacity in making money from it. He even proposed a partnership to keep her safe. He mentioned waiting for a month before jumping on board to see if anyone else would catch her, but no one did. Perhaps nobody had any involvement in her audit work except her manager, making it an easy escape for the two of them. Her manager requested that she sleep with him once as part of the partnership agreement. She initially refused, but he threatened to expose her. She claimed he had manipulated her into having sex with him. I asked her why she hadn't told me about this sooner. She explained that it was too late for her to seek my help, and she felt compelled to comply with her boss, fearing exposure. I inquired if it was a one-time occurrence, but she remained silent. I encouraged her to speak up, and she finally admitted that her boss became attracted to her after their first encounter and insisted they continue. She also confessed that she had started enjoying it. I was stunned, as I somehow had a sense this revelation was coming. I asked her one last time if there was anything else she was hiding, and she firmly said no. I stormed into my room, locking the door from the inside. I didn't know what to do. I read through hundreds of posts on relationship sites, but nothing offered a clear solution. It was a Sunday, and I locked myself away for the rest of the day. She messaged me, pleading for forgiveness and promising to work on our relationship. She mentioned she would quit her job, but I felt emotionally numb. What's the point of quitting after the damage is already done? I realized I couldn't see her the same way I used to. My love for her had changed, and most importantly, I would never trust her again. The following day at the office, I could hardly concentrate on work. My mind was consumed with thoughts of revenge. When I returned home, she was already there, which was unusual since she usually arrived an hour after me. She reached out, taking my hand as I entered the house, and offered to do anything to mend our relationship. I asked her to confess her fraud and expose her boss to her management. She froze, unable to comply. She argued that she didn't want to jeopardize her boss's livelihood, as he was the main provider for his family and had recently become a father. I raised my voice, questioning her morals when she had an affair with him, knowing he was soon to be a father or had just become one. I said, "Okay, then confess your wrongdoing to your management." She refused. After a heated argument, she finally disclosed that her boss had recorded their first intimate encounter and used it as leverage to keep her compliant. At that moment, if I had a knife in my hand, I might have been tempted to use it on her. Despite my repeated requests for full disclosure, she continued to conceal various pieces of information. I insisted that she immediately log into her laptop and reveal all the evidence. She kept questioning my intentions, which drove me to the brink of madness, forcing her to comply. For the first time in our 7-year relationship, she saw a side of me she had never witnessed before. And for the first time in 35 years of my life, I saw myself acting in such a way. I behaved no differently than a gangster, coercing my hostage to follow my orders. She logged into her laptop and presented the evidence, which included a folder containing records of all the transactions made to her boss's account and hers. The folder also contained the video clip of their initial intimate encounter, which seemed to be part of their partnership deal. I snatched the laptop from her, inserted my USB drive, and transferred all the data, including that video. She tried to grab it back, but I firmly held on to it and warned her that if she didn't cooperate, our marriage would end that very day. She eventually gave up, spending the rest of the evening sobbing and pleading. I downed an entire bottle of rum along with a few beer cans and eventually passed out. It left me feeling sick and disgusted. The following day at work was just like Monday. I spent the day deep in thought, contemplating my next move. I was determined to seek revenge. I went to her company's website and located the email addresses of relevant individuals. In addition to the general contact details, I found the email addresses of the HR department and the director. So what did I do next? I sat for the next 2 hours, composing a message similar to this one, attaching all the evidence I had taken from her the previous day. I also informed them about their affair, but chose not to include the video. After composing the email, I stared at the send button for hours before finally closing my eyes and pressing it. I had added her boss's wife to my social media account on the day I had stalked the manager. I sent her a few snippets of the video, along with details about my identity and what I had discovered. She promptly read all the messages and tried to call me, but I was at the office and didn't answer. She pleaded with me not to expose her husband to the company's management, as it would jeopardize his job. Given that he was the sole provider for their family and they had an infant, I shouldn't destroy his career. However, I had already sent the email. I chose not to engage further with the lady to prevent myself from succumbing to a guilt trip. When I returned home, Anna handed me a copy of her resignation letter, indicating that she had voluntarily left her job. She also mentioned that she had severed all ties with her colleagues and had blocked her boss on all communication platforms. She had worked out an arrangement with HR to compensate for her notice period instead of serving it. I responded with a sneer and didn't say a word about my own actions. Today is Friday, and I received a response from HR at my wife's company, expressing gratitude for the evidence and assuring me that they would thoroughly investigate the matter. I'm unsure whether I should feel content about my successful revenge because deep down, I worry that it could lead to serious consequences for my wife, and certainly it will ruin the manager's family. I haven't communicated with her since that day. I'm uncertain about what the future holds for me. I can't continue my relationship with Anna because I feel uneasy around her. I'm considering seeking therapy to help clear my mind. Although I may have exacted my revenge, I remain deeply distressed. Update 2. Hello everyone, I appreciate all the support. I hadn't planned to provide an update, but some of you were interested, so here it is. A week later, following the response from HR, my wife received a call from her company, asking her to come to the office for an audit inquiry. She initially declined, but was threatened with a legal order if she didn't comply. The manager was suspended during the ongoing investigation. So my wife's resignation and my email seemed to coincide, leading the company to believe that she had anonymously sent them the evidence before resigning. Her resignation process raised suspicions as she abruptly left without serving the notice period. When questioned, she confessed everything to them, although she cleverly framed it as her moral obligation to email the evidence. In short, the company didn't reward her for whistleblowing but rather blacklisted her, which spells doom for her career. The manager was found guilty of allowing her to continue and partnering with her despite catching her in the act right from the beginning. You know how strict HR policies can be. During this phase, I received a text from the manager's wife, who blamed Anna and me for wrecking her family. I sighed and blocked her, not wanting to deal with more drama. Anna made efforts to mend our shattered marriage, but I couldn't bring myself to accept her. Her presence repulsed me, her voice grated on my nerves, and I longed to be free of her. It wasn't just one affair. Anna had engaged in multiple layers of deceit. There were several points where she could have stopped and come clean, but she didn't. To make matters worse, she continued to hide information even during our confrontations. It took multiple therapy sessions to uncover the full extent of her betrayal. A month ago, I informed her of my decision to divorce her. She begged for a second chance, but I declined. She mentioned that this would ruin her, as she wouldn't find another decent job due to her company blacklisting her, which would show up in her background checks. I paid little attention to her accusations, Right now, my focus is on myself, and ending the marriage seems like the only way forward. The reality hit her when the divorce papers arrived. I proposed an uncontested divorce, or I would use the evidence in court to support my case. She agreed and left the house. I felt empty, but it was necessary for my healing process. I don't want to be trapped in this for the rest of my life. I'm continuing with therapy. Any advice on the healing process would be appreciated. Thanks a lot. My name is Oliver, and this is a story I never expected to share. My wife, Lisa, and I were what many people would consider the ideal couple. After 7 years of marriage, our lives were filled with love, laughter, and exciting plans. We resided in a charming suburban home, and everything appeared to be going well. The only change occurred when Lisa decided to join a local gym in her pursuit of a healthier, more active lifestyle. I was fully supportive of her decision, hoping it would bring positive transformations to our lives. During the initial few months, everything seemed wonderful. Lisa appeared happier and more energetic, and I felt proud of her accomplishments at the gym. Our evenings were filled with discussions about her newfound friendships and what she was learning in her fitness classes. However, with that passage of time, I began to notice subtle changes that I couldn't initially pinpoint. She started devoting more time to the gym, citing additional classes or special training sessions. Her workout attire became more stylish, and she began paying greater attention to her appearance before leaving the house. Occasionally, she mentioned dinners with her gym friends after workouts, and even though I trusted her, an unsettling feeling began to take hold in my chest. I attempted to convince myself that it was just my own jealousy or insecurity at play. Lisa never did anything to make me suspicious, but as time went on, I couldn't ignore those early warning signs anymore. She'd be on the phone for ages, sometimes laughing at texts she wouldn't share with me. When I asked about her day, she'd dodge the questions and give me vague answers. Our closeness started fading away, and I started feeling like a stranger in my own house. The way she looked at me, her changed routines, and those long phone chats with people I'd never met started getting to me. My trust in Lisa started cracking, and I couldn't shake this urge to figure out what was going on. I trusted her, but something deep down told me I had to do something. With doubt creeping in, I began paying close attention to details. That different perfume on her neck, the new glint in her eyes, that smile that seemed like it had a secret. I analyzed every little thing about her. I decided I had to learn more about these gym buddies. I tried to play it cool when I asked questions, but Lisa was slippery. One name kept coming up, Tom, a guy she claimed was just a friend, but why did her face light up like a Christmas tree whenever she talked about him? My suspicions turned into a full-blown obsession. I spent countless nights tossing and turning, replaying every conversation and glance they shared in my mind. The puzzle pieces started clicking together, but it was so unbelievable. I couldn't resist snooping through her phone when she wasn't looking, hoping to find some answers. Every harmless message I read was a relief, but the unease never left me. My actions made me feel like a tiny, nosy intruder, but I couldn't help myself. The need for the truth was like a blazing fire inside me. I decided to tail Lisa one evening when she had dinner plans with her gym pals. I parked at a safe distance and watched her stroll into a restaurant. She looked drop-dead gorgeous, dressed in a way she hadn't in months with me. Tom was there, all smiles as he greeted her. I watched them for hours, witnessing their laughter, the gentle touches, and those meaningful looks that screamed more than just friendship. It felt like the ground was crumbling beneath me. My suspicions had turned into reality, but it still wasn't concrete enough. The pain was overwhelming, but my determination to uncover the whole truth was unshakable. The investigation was just getting started, and what I was about to uncover would be a roller coaster of pain and surprises. The breakthrough didn't happen all at once. It unfolded gradually, like a slow, agonizing symphony that grew louder with each passing note. My determination to uncover the truth led me down a path of increasing agony. To kick things off, I hired a private investigator laying out my situation and suspicions. He gave me that knowing look, familiar with cases like mine, and promised discretion and professionalism. The following weeks were pure torment. Every update from the detective drove a dagger deeper into my heart. Photos of Lisa and Tom popping up in various places, secrets shared, messages filled with words that went beyond mere friendship. I found myself lost somewhere between reality and imagination, replaying in my mind the moments they'd shared. The pain was nearly physical, like a blade slicing through me, and my love for Lisa was being overshadowed by the betrayal. Then, the detective got an audio recording of a conversation between them where they openly discussed their relationship and professed their love for each other. Hearing her sweet and familiar voice utter those words to another man was the final blow. I was crushed, but I still had to face the worst part. The confrontation. How could I possibly broach everything I'd uncovered with her without falling apart completely? The bombshell of Lisa's betrayal left my soul bleeding. I was devastated, caught in a whirlwind of rage and sorrow. But as days went by, a new emotion began to simmer within me, a thirst for justice, a calculated and icy desire for revenge. After delving deeper into Tom's background, I unearthed a shocking fact. He was a married man. His wife, Sarah, seemed like a loving and devoted spouse, utterly unaware of her husband's deceitful nature. I couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for her, imagining the shock that lay ahead. With newfound determination, I reached out to Sarah. Words were hard to come by, but I needed to expose the truth. We arranged to meet at a discreet cafe, far from prying eyes, where I could present the evidence. The expression on Sarah's face when I revealed everything was a mixture of disbelief and profound sadness. She stared at the photos and messages, each one cutting into her like a knife. "How could he do this?" she murmured, tears flowing freely. "I trusted him. I loved him." "Sarah, I understand your pain," I told her, my voice brimming with empathy. "But we need to take action. We need to teach them a lesson." A spark of anger ignited in her eyes. She wiped away her tears and looked at me with unwavering resolve. "You're absolutely right, Oliver. They must pay for what they've done." So we kicked off our revenge scheme. Sarah and I, an unlikely pair, joined forces due to a shared sense of betrayal. We met regularly, swapping information and crafting a detailed plan. We decided that our revenge had to be a public spectacle, something that would humiliate Tom and Lisa and expose their true colors to the world. The ideal setting for this showdown would be the academy where it all began, a place bustling with witnesses, including students, teachers, and staff. With our evidence in hand, like photos and text messages, Sarah and I headed to the gym during a busy time, determined to unveil the betrayal. Our veins pulsed with adrenaline, our hearts racing from a mix of anger and nerves. We strolled into the gym, and I spotted Tom and Lisa, laughing and chatting as if nothing had occurred. My anger boiled over, and I approached them with Sarah by my side. "Tom! Lisa!" I shouted, grabbing everyone's attention in the room. "I've got something to show everyone here." Their expressions shifted swiftly from surprise to horror as they grasped what was unfolding. Tom tried to say something, but I silenced him by revealing the pictures and reading snippets from the text messages. "This is the real Tom and Lisa," I declared. "A shameless and disgraceful betrayal." The entire academy fell into a hushed silence, eyes wide, faces displaying shock. Tom moved toward me, anger burning in his eyes. "You had no right to do this here," he bellowed, shoving me. I shoved him away, and the situation quickly spiraled into chaos. Students and instructors were yelling, trying to break us apart. Sarah was in tears, while Lisa pleaded with everyone to stop. Academy security stepped in, pulling us apart. The manager showed up, demanding an explanation. Amid sobs, Sarah spilled the beans about the betrayal, presenting the evidence for all to see. Tom turned pale, his reputation and image tarnished before everyone's eyes. Lisa felt humiliated as well, her pleas for forgiveness falling on deaf ears. "It's done, Tom!" Sarah screamed, her pain evident in her tearful eyes. "I'm getting a lawyer. Our marriage is finished." Tom and Lisa were booted from the academy, their names tainted, their lives shattered. Sarah and I left the place with a mix of relief and sadness. The next day, as I packed my bags, I heard Lisa's cries and pleas. Lisa was begging, asking for a chance to explain, an opportunity to fix what was broken. "Oliver, please hear me out," Lisa sobbed, kneeling before me, her eyes swollen and red. "I never meant to hurt you. I was confused, lost. I need you." I paused, gazing at the woman I once believed I loved with all my heart. The pain in her eyes was genuine, but the betrayal had left a deep wound, something I wasn't sure I could heal. "Lisa, you've shattered everything," I murmured, my voice trembling. "I saw both of you together in our home, on our couch. How can you expect me to forgive that?" Lisa clutched my hands, desperation in her eyes. "I made a terrible mistake, But we can work through this, Oliver. We can rebuild. I'll do whatever it takes. I withdrew my hands, a mix of sadness and anger surging within me. You should have considered that sooner, I replied firmly, my voice filled with resolve. I can't stay. I can't trust you again. With those words, I zipped up my suitcase and headed for the door. Lisa crumpled to the floor, a scream of agony escaping her lips. Oliver, please don't leave me, she wailed. I paused, glancing back. Seeing Lisa defeated and desperate tore at my heart. But I knew I had to be strong. I had to move forward. I'm so sorry, Lisa, I said, my voice breaking. But it's over. That was my story. I discovered my ex-wife had cheated on me with a guy she met at the gym. What would you have done in my shoes? Would you have confronted them in front of everyone too? If you found out about your spouse's infidelity, could you forgive them? I couldn't.